Okay.
Yeah, very good, Benjamin.
Okay, so thank you for joining today's class. Today we are going to go back to HTML. We had started on HTML, and so today we are just going to do something small, cover a few concepts in HTML, so that you can be able to understand HTML better. So today's class is a basic lesson, Introduction to HTML, which is a front-end development language, as we had said. And it will be good for those people who have never done HTML before, but it will also be good for revision. If you've done HTML or you understand HTML, it will help you to revise and to freshen up. So today our session objective, first of all, we'll just do a small recap in probably 5 minutes of what we did last time, so that at least we are sure we remember what we did. Then we'll go through the basic structure of HTML in like 5 minutes also. We'll be able to see what tags are in HTML. We'll be able to see how we can be able to work with images in HTML. We'll be able to also see how we can use links in HTML. We'll look at the HTML elements, and we'll do a small project that will just we'll write a few lines of code that will just illustrate what you're doing. So maybe I don't know if there is someone who can volunteer to just take us through what we did last time. Who's willing? Anyone willing to take us through what we did last time? Okay, so no problem. I'll just take us through. So
Anna has raised her
okay,
hand.
Anna, you can.
Yeah.
Okay, Anna, you can take us through.
Hey everyone, I hope you're all okay. I'll only take penye tu najua kidogo. So we
That's okay.
started with okay. Front-end web development, that is what we said about the HTML thing. Then we said the practice of building part of was it a website or app that the users see and interact with, that is front-end web development. Then we passed through the languages. We said HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and then we went to the building block of front-end web development. It was, I think, a triangle, if I'm not wrong, and the triangle was divided into 3 parts, that is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So we started defining on HTML, and we said that HTML is the Hypertext Markup Language, and we said basically it is used to design the structure of the website. Then we have the CSS, cascading style sheet, I think. Then we say that is the style sheet language used to describe the look and layout of a document written in HTML. And then we went to JavaScript. We say that it adds creativity and functionality to make web applications more dynamic. I think I'll go up to there. That's all I can remember for now.
That's really good, Hannah. Thank you. You've mentioned a lot of the things that we did. So that's very impressive. Anyone else who has something to contribute? Okay, so that was a basic overview of what we did last time. We said that HTML is a front-end development language, and we said that when we are building a web application, we usually have two two parts of a web application. We have the front end, which basically you as the user interacts with. So whatever you interact with when you're interacting, let's say with a website or an application, a mobile application, that is known as the front end part of it. Then we have the backend parts of a web application or a mobile application. So it's what goes on behind the scene and the logic that goes on behind the scene, the functions that go on behind the scene to make sure that that application is running smoothly. And we said that in front-end web development, we have three main languages that we'll be covering in this course that are used in front-end web development. The first one we said is the HTML, as Hannah said, and it stands for Hypertext Markup Language. So it helps us as we are working on our front end. It gives our web applications structure. So HTML basically is for giving our web applications structure and a good layout. But we said that HTML by itself cannot be able to do much. It's limited in a few things. First of all, HTML is very plain. That's what we said. So it does not look visually appealing to a user. And that's where CSS comes in. So CSS is another language and it's a styling language. It is used to add to style our web applications to make them feel visually appealing. So I hope that difference is clear. But again, when you just use HTML and CSS, you'll realize that we do not have much interactivity, or our websites are very static, which basically means we cannot interact with them so much. So for us to be able to interact with our websites, with our web applications, we need to add functionality to them in such a way that it can be able to perform operations, it can be able to do a few manipulations. And that's where JavaScript comes in. JavaScript is a programming language, which basically helps us to add interactivity and functionality to our web applications. So we had used an example of, let's say, web application. Let's say when you go to the CJ's app or website, when you're interacting with it, you are interacting with a HTML document. But for you to order food and that food is delivered to your house or where you are, you will need JavaScript to do a few functionalities. For example, to do the order operation where you can be able to place an order, you can be able to make a payment, you can be able to track your order. We can be able to probably generate an order ID. So to have those operations, we need JavaScript. And we said that first of all, we'll get to understand what HTML is, which we started last time. After that, we'll go and we'll get to see how CSS works and how we can use it to style our websites. Then finally, as we are coming to the end of learning about front end, we'll get to JavaScript. And maybe if we have time also, we'll get to see there's something that we call design thinking. Basically, which means how can you be able to design systems that are both they are both they have sorry, how can you be able to develop systems that first of all are visually appealing, they're easy to use, and you can be, and also just a minute. So I was saying, we'll also, if we find time, we'll also get to look at design thinking, which basically is design. How can you be able to design good systems that are friendly to use. So we'll get to see that in a few lessons to come. So today we'll just go back to what we'll cover today. So first of all, today I want us to have a very practical lesson so that as we are learning, we get to just understand what we're doing. I'll ask us, those who have laptops, go to your GitHub account and let's just create a simple project in a few minutes. I hope you all remember how to create a project. So maybe someone can take us through how to create a project in GitHub in a minute. So I hope you can all see my screen. I've opened my GitHub account. So someone take us through how to create a GitHub repo and to clone it to our machine.
You go to project.
Anyone? So I'm here. You can see my screen.
Yeah.
So where do I go to?
You create. You can create a new project by.
From where?
Okay. For me, you can tap on the zinaitwaje icon imeandikwa project. Kwa yangu naona kuna icon imeandikwa project and you can create from there a new project. Or
Okay, she has tried and she's also correct. So I think the easiest one, you just go to this top navigation section here. There's this plus icon here. You create the plus icon. Yes, Melissa? Yes, Melissa, you've raised your hand. Melissa, do you have something to contribute? Okay, so as I was saying, you just go to this plus icon here, click create new repository. Then we'll just give our repository. Let's say we want to create a gallery for our seat class. So maybe we'll name it seat underscore gallery. We'll make it public, which means that anyone can be able to access our repo. Then we'll add a README file. We create a repo. So it's already here. We come and we copy the URL. Then we'll open our command line. So you open your CMD, your command line. We want our projects to be located in our desktop. So we'll change our directory to desktop. CD basically means change directory, then our directory name. Then from here, we'll be able to clone these projects. So to be able to clone our GitHub repo to our local machine, we just write this command, git clone, then the link that we had copied from GitHub. Enter, so it's cloning. Now that we've been able to clone it, we'll change our directory so that we can be able to get into our repo. So again, we'll use the command cd, which means change directory. Then our repo name, we had named it sit gallery, which is here. So it's sit underscore gallery. So when we check the contents of our repo, we can see that we had added a README file, but it's fairly empty. After that, we'll just open it in VS Code. And to do that, we just write code space period. So here it is. Yes, Felix.
Hi, Benjamin. You are too
Hi, how are you?
fast.
Sorry, so I said, let's go back to GitHub. Okay. We are all there.
Yes.
So
Yes.
ukiwa hapa kwa GitHub, there's this plus icon. That's the easiest way. We have multiple ways that you can create a repo. But I usually find personally, it's just a personal preference. I usually find that this one is way easy. Click on the plus icon. There's this drop down menu that comes, new repository. Then you'll write your repository name here on this text box. It, and we've said, let's say we want to create a small project to maybe it will be our class gallery, something like that. It's just a simple idea. Then underscore gallery. So that's our repository name, or that's our directory name, gallery. Up to there, we okay? So on my side, it's telling me that the repository already exists because I'd already created one, but I was just demonstrating for the people who are left behind. Then you can either leave it as public or private. We said when you leave it as public, anyone can be able to access that repo as long as they have access to your GitHub account. But when it's private, only authorized people can be able to access your repo. So for now, we'll just leave it as public. Then we'll add a README file here. Are we together up to there? After that, we create a repository. There's this green button here that you create a repository. If you click it, because I'd already created mine, it will take you to this page here where it shows you your repository name. Are we all there? Anyone who is stuck up to there, so that we don't leave anyone behind. Felix, are you good up to there? Okay, after that, there's this
Yes, I am.
green, there's this, okay, that's good. There's this green button, it's written code. You click it, a drop down menu comes out, and there's this link that you copy from here. So we have these two icons that look like a page. So I'm sure you can all see it. you copy. You just copy that, or you can just highlight this and you copy. So once you've copied this URL, you come to your CMD, and for you to be able to access your CMD, you just type CMD, then it will open your CMD. I hope up to there we are okay. Are we okay up to there? So maybe what I can do, let me just delete the repo that had cloned so that we reclone it again. Anyway, it's refusing to delete. I don't know.
Close the terminal.
Sorry?
Close the terminal, then you try and delete.
So let's reopen the terminal again. So I hope you've all opened your CMD, your command prompts, and you can all see my screen. So the first thing is we want to make sure that our project will be in our desktop. And for us to be able to store our project or to save our project in our desktop, we'll have to change our directory to the desktop. Yes, Jedida.
Ni kama okay, mi nikawa nimepotea kwa kucopy link.
So uko hapa.
Yeah, I've already copied the link. Iko hivyo, the screen is like this.
Okay, after you've copied, unakuja hapa chini, you type CMD. You're using Windows, right?
Yes.
So ukitype CMD, have you seen command prompt ikitokea?
Wapi? Naitype wapi na sijaona hapo.
Hapa chini kwa start button yako. Huku chini kabisa, you see where my mouse is? Here. Chini kabisa. Or finya kwa keyboard, hiyo button ya Windows, then you just type CMD. So a window like this will pop up. Umeiona?
Yes.
Then you open,
Oh.
click open.
Oh.
Once you open, itakuleta hapa.
Yeah.
Do you have the same thing?
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, so after umefika hapa, we want to store our project in our desktop. So we've said you just cd into desktop. Now we are in our desktop. Then what we do, we clone our projects so that we can have a local copy in our machines or in our laptops. So we are cloning the repo that is online to our local machines. So this is what this command does. Then you control V so that the link that you had copied itatokea hapo. So this is the link. Up to there, are we good?
Yes.
Then you type enter. So it will tell you that it's already cloning. Once it's successful, it will say that 100%, which basically means it has cloned. After that, we want to get into our project that we've just cloned. So we'll have to change directory again. The same procedure, cd sit, and we say that our directory name is sit underscore gallery. Then enter. So we are inside our repo, or inside our directory, or inside our project folder. Up to there, is it clear? Okay, after we've done that, we need to open our project in Visual Studio, which is our development environment. So it is called for it to be able to open, it's called space period, so that it can open our VS Code, and it will load this repo that you've just cloned. Up to there, I hope we are good. Are we all good up to there? Okay, so now we want to just interact. We want to build a simple web page, which basically I'll be using for illustration purposes to explain the different elements in HTML. So first of all, here, this is our project folder. I hope everyone has this in their machine. So you can either create a new file from up here, you can create a new file, but the easiest, you just click on the project folder, which is this one. I hope you can all see that. Then there is this small icon, the first one here, that when you hover over it, it says a new file. So you click that. Then let's give it a name. Let's just give it index.html. So there's something that if you've never done HTML before, you need to take note of, and it's this one. I don't know if my screen is visible enough. Okay, so you remember when we are creating a Python file, we usually we write our Python name, the name of the file. So let's say the name of the file is sit. So that our development environment can be able to recognize that it's a Python file. We usually have a .py extension, so that it can be able to clearly differentiate that this is a Python file. In HTML, it's different. When you're creating a HTML file, first of all, you give it a name. You can give it any name. So we can say maybe gallery. So that's the name of our HTML. The same thing applies we need to add an extension so that our development environment can be able to know that this is a HTML file. So anytime you've named your HTML file, always remember to add a HTML extension like that. So for you to be able to know that you've named your HTML file correctly, it will bring these angled brackets. You see these orange angled brackets. So that is one of the indicators that you've successfully created a HTML file. So up to there, are we okay? So as who can remember how we said that how can we who can tell us how we generate our HTML boilerplate? Yes.
You press shift and the number one yenye iko na the exclamation mark. So that exclamation mark when you it will appear.
Exactly. That's right. So you press shift, then we want to have this exclamation mark. So it's shift then one. Number one hizi zenye ziko hapa juu ya keyboard. You click that. So it will generate something like this. I hope you can all see it. Then when you click on it, it generates the HTML boilerplate. And we said that the HTML boilerplate, it's the basic structure of how a HTML file looks like. So this is basically the basic level of how a HTML file looks like. Have we been able to do that, all of us? Anyone having issues? Okay, I think we are good. So Melissa had raised her hand. You can take us through the HTML boilerplate and tell us what each line of code does.
Okay, the first line represents the line of the version of HTML that you are using. The second line shows that it is a HTML document with the language attribute, which is English. Then there is a head tag. Within the head tag, there is a meta charset. It uses, I'm not really sure what it is meant for, but the fifth line is just the variables are to like set the screen, the width of the web page that you are going to be creating. The title tag holds the title, the main title of your document. Then we close the HTML tag on line 7. We open another tag, the body tag, in line 8. Within the body tag is where we are going to have the contents of our web page. Then on line 10, we will close it. On 11, we will close the HTML tag that we had previously opened in line 2. That's all.
Thank you. That's right. So basically, as Melissa was saying, this is the boilerplate, and line 1, basically what doc type means. It tells us the type of HTML, HTML that we are using, and I think the latest one is HTML5. So it's able to tell us what version of HTML we are using. Then we have this. We have this HTML tag here. So maybe I'll just also delete this. So this is what contains everything about our HTML document. So it's the parent element, which we'll get to see the difference between a parent element and a child element. So it's a parent element in the sense that everything else that you do on your HTML document will be inside these two tags here, HTML and this one. So it's after you've declared the doc type, this is the second most important thing that you need to do. Make sure that you have the HTML element, which basically will house each and every line of code as you're developing your HTML. So after that, we have this lang is equals to this en, which basically tells us the language that we're developing our HTML document in. En means English, and lang, it's a short form for language. So it just tells us, and it tells the browser that this document has been written in English. Up to there, I hope it's okay. After that, so once you have once you've created your HTML file, there are two important parts to a HTML file. We have the header section, which is this one, the header section from here to here. Then we have the body section from, and we'll get to just see what the body section does. So the header section usually contains what we refer to as the metadata. And it also helps us when we're linking external resources to our HTML file. We'll get to see that shortly. So, for example, we can be able to write our title in the header section here. So maybe let's delete that and write Seat Technologies. So we come here and we click go live. So what does the title do? So the title is what appears on our browser at the top here. So it will tell us the name of our HTML document. So as we had said, we have two main parts of our HTML document. We have the header section, which contains our metadata, and we have the body section. So this is the difference when we look at it from the browser perspective. You see this white space. This is where the body of our HTML file will be, and it will contain everything that is visible to the user. Anything that you can be able to see, it's here. You'll realize that once we run our page, these lines of code here do not appear because they are not visible except the title alone, which appears on the browser here. So after that, after the header section, now we have the body section here. And the body section, as we've said, it basically contains what will be here in this white space, and we'll just get to do a few things. Here we see how it works. So basically, this is the basic structure of a HTML document, and it's known as a boilerplate. Okay. So let's go back to our notes. We've already covered this. Do we have any questions before we move to the next thing? Okay, so since there are no questions, let's quickly move to the next thing. So the header section, as we've said, it contains metadata, which basically it's the title. So this viewport is basically, we use it for screen responsiveness. So you'll realize that anytime you're accessing a website, different people usually access web applications using different devices. Some will use a tablet, some will use a mobile phone, some will use a laptop or a desktop. So this one is basically used to ensure that your website is responsive to different screen devices. So I hope up to there we are okay. Now let's go to the body section. Before we go to the body section, I'd just like to share something on HTML tags. So I'll again delete this just for illustration purposes. So what are HTML? What are HTML tags? HTML tags are the foundational elements that are used to structure and format our web pages. So they provide instructions to our browser on how to render things like texts, things like images, let's say videos, link, and other things. So HTML is a language that heavily uses tags. And what is a tag? So when we talk about tags, this is what we refer to, these angled brackets. So anytime that you're defining an element in HTML, it always has to be inside these tags. And this is what we mean. So let's bring back our code. You'll notice that each line of code usually starts with these angle brackets. So these are known as tags. I hope that is okay. We all understand that. When you are creating an element, for example, when you are creating this head element, we usually have two types of tags. So we have the opening tag and the closing tag. And this is what I mean. So the opening tag, anytime that you open an element, let's say, for example, if you want to write a paragraph, for example, the tag for writing a paragraph is P. So when you open the tag, we've opened it here, you need to close it here. And how you close it, you just close it the same way that you had opened it. But the only difference is when you're closing your tag, you need to have this / here. You can see we've opened our tag head here. When we close it here, it has this / which means that our head section has come to an end. The same thing with HTML. We opened it here. When you're closing it here, it has this / which means it's the end of a HTML document. The same with the body. So that's something that you need to always be keen when you're working on your HTML documents. If you do not close your tags, they will not, your HTML document will misbehave or it will not function the way it's supposed to function. After you've created your tag, for example, we've created a paragraph. Now you'll write the contents of your elements here inside. You see between these tags, the first one and the last one. So let me just have a small paragraph here. So when we can come and look at it, so it has populated it has just written a random paragraph here. So that's how you create a tag. So I'll go back. Now that we've known how to create tags, let's go now and talk about the body section, which is this white space over here. So the body section usually has three main components, or is usually divided into three main parts. In most of the websites, you'll realize that they usually follow the same structure. It has a navigation section, it has the main section, and it has the footer section. So when you're writing your HTML documents, most of them usually just follow the format that you used to use in school when you're writing our compositions, when we're writing our essays. You remember in school when you're writing our compositions, we used to have our compositions are divided into three parts. The introduction, the main content or the main body, the body of the composition, then the conclusion. The same thing usually happens when we are creating our web pages. So we have the navigation bar or the navigation section, which is the topmost section in our web pages. Then we have the main content, then we have the footer. So maybe to just illustrate that, let's again, we'll use the same website that we used last time, just to show how it works. So this is our church website. And when you have time, you can just go through, basically, you can go through different types of websites and you'll realize most of them usually follow the same pattern. It's only the design that is different, but the structure is almost the same. So when we say the navigation section, this is what we mean, the topmost part of our website, which contains our navigation links, maybe a few buttons, maybe the logo of the organization or the logo of the website. So that's what a navigation section is. Then the main body is everything that is that follows the navigation section. So this whole section here is the body of the website. After that, at the bottom here, we have our footer. So the footer is the bottommost part of our web application. I hope that's clear. So how do you create navigation in HTML? You have so you have these navigation tags, and it's always a good practice. One thing that you need to understand is HTML is not case sensitive. You can either write your code in capital or you can write it in small letters. This and this are the same thing, but I think it's a good practice anytime that you're writing your code or you're creating your elements in HTML. Always ensure that you write them in small letters. So it's a standard. It's not something that is mandatory, but it's good as you're creating your websites. So this is how you usually create a navigation link. We have this nav, which basically stands for navigation. And inside it, we'll now create our navigation. I hope you can all see my screen. So there's something that I'll use that is not in the scope of this lesson. So don't worry about it for now, but in the next lesson we'll cover it. So it's known as a div. So a div is basically used to divide our web page into sections. And what do I mean by that? You see, for example, this purple thing over here, this is a section in our website where we have images here. This is another section of our website. Let me just go back to the navigation link to use it. This navigation link has three main sections. So it has the section on the left here, which has the logo, the name of the church, and this tagline over here. Then at the center, it has these navigation links. On the right, it has this button and this breadcrumb menu and this search icon over here. So it's divided into three: the center part, the left part, and the right. And how can you be able to achieve that? By using the div element. But we'll cover that. It's a little bit it's not so complicated, but it's a little bit complicated for this class. So don't worry about it for now. And also, there's something that I'll use here that I'm just introducing it so that you see. But again, it's outside the scope of this class. So it's basically a class is used just for better styling in CSS, but for now, don't worry much about it. Now, we've already defined our navigation link. So we want to create a navigation bar that will have a logo. Same thing, this is what we want to duplicate, but now for our seat class, we want to personalize it for our seat class. So I'll again create another div, and I'll give it an attribute, which is a class, and I'll name our class, let's say, logo container. So inside our div, so we'll have a logo, which is an image. So how do you embed an image, or how do you put an image in HTML? You use this HTML element, which is known as img. So as we said, so after, if you have autocomplete, once you just type img, you click this, it will autocomplete. If you do not have, so this is the syntax of how you create an image link or an image URL. I hope that is clear. After that, for now, let's just leave it empty. We'll come and populate it in just a few minutes. So we want to have a heading. So let me just go back to my notes here. Now we have elements in HTML. We have two types of text in HTML. We have headings and we have paragraphs. So headings are titles. The same way when you're writing any document, you usually have titles. Then we have paragraphs, which are long form texts or long form characters. So HTML headings are used to define titles and subtitles in our web page, and it helps the search engine, or it helps our browser. You see, so to be able to properly structure our page. We'll get to see that in the next classes. Today, I'm trying not to become too complicated as I'm sharing, so that we don't get lost. We have 6 types of headings. We have H1 to H6. And when we say that, this is what let's go back. This is what we mean. Maybe I'll just delete this for now, then I'll come back to it in a few. So we have 6 types of headings. We have H1. Let's say we have H2. We have H3. We have H4. H5. And H6. So what do you mean by this? What you mean, H1 is the biggest. H1 is heading in terms of size, then followed by H2, H3 up to H6. So when we run this, we can be able to see this here. You can see the differences. H1, it's the biggest up to H6. So H1 is usually used as a title of your web page. And one thing that you always need to note is that it is a good practice that when you're writing your HTML documents or when you're creating your HTML pages, you only need to use H1 once in a web page. You see a web page like this, index.html, we cannot, it's not a good practice to use two H1 elements in one file like this. So if you use it once here, the next time that you'll use it in another file, and another HTML file like this one. So it's used for headings or for titles. H2 is used for subtitles, same as H3, H4, up to H6. So for now, it was just introducing what headings are. We'll cover them practically as we go by. So let me just bring back our code. Now we want to just write a small heading on our navigation link, which is this one. So let me just do it side by side so that we see what we are doing. So we've written a small title here, and the next thing that you're going to do, we are going to just have navigation links the same way we have them here. The same way we have these navigation links, we want to create them. So how do we create them? We'll have another div. If I'm going too fast, you can let me know. So this div will give it a class name of, and now you'll get to appreciate how classes work. For now, I know maybe it does not really make sense, but you'll get to appreciate once we cover attributes in HTML and we start getting to CSS, you'll get to understand why it's important to have classes in HTML. It is not it's not necessary, but it's important. So for now, just follow along. If you do not understand what this class does, in the next lesson, we'll get to see how it works clearly. So we want to create a list of navigation links. This is what we want to create. Home, founders, ministry. We want to create a list like this. We have two types of lists. We have ordered lists and unordered lists. So an ordered list is a list that does not follow a particular order. An ordered list is a list that follows a particular order. I'll also get to that shortly. I don't want to confuse you with a lot of terms. So for now, let's just create it. We see how everything is coming to place. Then we'll be interacting with these elements one by one so that we make sure that we understand everything. So we've created an unordered list, which means it does not have order, as the word says. Then inside it, we'll create an ordered list. So something like this. So this is a list just to list items the same way we have here on this church website. After that, we'll create a link. What is a link? A link is, just as the word suggests, it's a link to an external resource, or it's a path to accessing an external resource. What do I mean by that? So this is our church website over here. When you look at these navigations here, there are shortcuts to accessing other pages or other resources within the website. So this is our homepage of our RCCG. When you come here and you click ministries and you click it, it redirects us to another page, which basically contains information about ministries. If we click here on givings, it takes us to the giving channels that you can be able to maybe give an offering or tithe. So that's what you want to create. And how can you be able to achieve that? It's by using links. So for you to be able to create a link in HTML, if you had already preloaded HTML, you just type A. So it will preload the syntax of creating a link. And for now, we'll just leave it blank, but you see in between so in between our tags, our anchor tag that opens and this one that closes, we'll just say maybe our first link is home. Then let's just copy this line and duplicate it. So maybe we'll duplicate it 4 or 5 times. So what we'll be changing here is we want to create an about us page. We want to create maybe the services that we offer at SITS. Maybe we want to create a gallery page. Then from there, we want to create a contacts page. So when we come back to our browser and load, you can see we already have our navigation links here. We have our title here. And as you can all notice, as I had said earlier, in the last class, this website is very plain. It does not look nice to. If it was you interacting with this website, I'm sure you'll not appreciate a website that looks like this. So this is one of the limitations of HTML, and it's one of the uses of CSS, or one of the things that makes CSS very important. So CSS will be able to convert this plain text into something like this that has a little bit of styling to it, and it looks and feels professional, and it's visually appealing. So after that, we'll so let me just create another folder here. I want to load our logo. So I come back to my project folder here, or to my repo here. And you remember when we are creating a file, we used this first icon that when you hover over it, it says new file. So we want to create a folder. You can either create a file or a folder. So what I want to create is a folder known as images. So that we can be able to have images that we can load in our website. So there are few images here that I had selected. So let me just copy this, and I come to my images and I paste them. So after I've pasted them, you remember we had created we wanted to load our logo, and this is the syntax of how if you want to embed an image to your HTML document. So because it's one of the first classes, just follow along what I'm doing. As I've said, I'll be explaining how and what each and everything does slowly by slowly. So let's create an image, and how we want to inside this quotation marks, we want to put the URL, which basically is the path towards accessing that image, so that our development environment can be able to find that image with ease. So our images is in this folder that you've just created, which is images. Okay. Then you put a /, then the name of the image that you want. So I want this logo to appear. So it's logo.png. So this is the path to accessing our image. And when we reload it again, you can see our image is here, but everything does not really look nice. So let's just try and try and work on that. Maybe for now, let me just introduce CSS so that you can appreciate the power of CSS. And how do you add a CSS file to your HTML? The last time we had said that if you want to add a CSS file, you include it in your head section, not the body section. You remember we said that we had two parts of HTML documents. We have the head section and the body section. So the head section contains the metadata of your HTML page, and it also contains links to external resources. But the body is what contains the visible parts, the things that will appear on your web page. So how do you create CSS? How do you link your HTML to CSS? First of all, let's create a CSS file here. So I'll just come here, create a new file, then I'll name it style dot. The same thing that we had said, when you're creating a HTML document, you use a .html extension. Is the same thing that applies when you're creating a CSS file, so that your development environment will be able to know that this is a CSS file and not a HTML file or a Python file. You use the .css extension. And how you know that you've created it successfully, it usually has this blue hash icon. You can see the difference between this and this. So for now, let's maybe style the body of our let's now style the body of our website. So because we've not covered CSS and I can see time is really flying, I'll just write this code so that we just see what it does, but we'll get to it soon in the next 2 or 3 classes. For now, it's just laying a foundation of how everything works in HTML and CSS. So maybe in our body, we want to have a margin of 0. Maybe a padding of 0. Maybe we want to have a background color. Maybe we can give it blue. Then maybe a box. So we come here and what you want to do now is to be able to style this navigation link, this navigation navigation bar over here. So we can come and just maybe style it. So we can give it a background color of green. Let's use our seat color. So it's usually OCA. So when we come back to, oh sorry, we had not linked it. So this is how you link your HTML to your CSS file. You just type link and you click this one. Then inside this quotation mark, you write the name of your CSS file, which is style.css. So once you've done that, when you come back, let's refresh. Maybe we'll just add a few more. Maybe let's change the color of our text to white. And have a padding of 10 pixels. So we can now come and style our elements. So don't worry if you don't understand what I'm doing. For now, it's not very important because we've not gotten there. We'll get there in a few classes. It was not working because I'd made a small mistake, but now I think it's good. Now you can see we've been able to add a bit of color to our CSS, our HTML document, and it's no longer looking as plain as it was looking before. Maybe just to show you the difference. You see, this is how it was. Now we've been able to add a bit of color to it. So maybe we can just work in the next 10 minutes. Let me just try and develop a good navigation bar for illustration purposes. Then from this code, we'll now get to interact with these elements one by one. So I'll come and I want to style this logo here, and I want to style this logo so that it's not looking the way it's looking here. This is what I want to achieve. This and maybe a text on the side here. So let me try and style that. So I just come, pick my class name, which is logo container. Then I'll add a few elements inside of it. I want to align the items so that they are centered. So I'll come and style my H1 elements, which basically it's this text that I want to style to make it more visually appealing. Then I'll come here and I want to style my logo. So I'll give it a width of 60 pixels. Maybe I'll give it a height because I don't want it to be too big. So I'll give it a height of, again, 60 pixels. So let's see if we've been able to make changes so far. So you can see our text is on the side here, but again, there's nothing much that is really happening here. So we need to just add a few more stylings to it, maybe. So you can come and pick this so that you can be able to style these elements here. So what we've done, let me just show you the difference. We want to be able to remove then I don't know the name, but these points here, so that it looks nice. Then I want them to be horizontal, the navigation links to be horizontal, the same way we have this. So that's the basic styling that I'm doing here. So display flex. So you can see our navigation links are now horizontal, horizontal, then longer vertical. Then maybe I want to add a margin. So I want to come and further style this. So maybe now you can see our website is still it's slowly taking shape, but it has not gotten to where we want it. So I'll just add maybe in 5 minutes because I see time is really going. I just add 2 more stylings, then I'll just get to explain. So I want to change the color of these navigation links to a color like white. I think white is good. You can see it as they've changed to white. Maybe I want the background color. So I want to remove these lines over here so that it's just plain. So we've removed them. Maybe another thing that I want to do, I want to make them bold. So you can notice the difference. They're regular. Now when I write that, they become bold. So for now, So okay, so for now, this is what we've been able to cover. It's still very basic. Okay, yeah, I think you can now see the difference. Maybe this color is not too nice. Let me just change that. Anyway, for now, I'm sure you can all see that now the website is slowly taking shape, but it's still a long way to go. Time has really gone. I wish we could have more time, but don't worry, the next lesson, now these things will make more sense. I'll send this code on GitHub, and we'll build on this code slowly. So today we've been able to, we said that the body section, which is this section over here, this which is now green, what is it to the user? And we say that it has three main sections. It has the navigation section, which is this one, the body section, and the footer section. So in the next lesson, we'll be able to cover the body section. We'll be able to do something like this. Then we'll also create a footer for our website, and we'll be able to style it. For now, it's very basic. It's because we had a very limited time, but we still have a couple of lessons to do HTML. We'll just do each and everything slowly by slowly. Today, don't worry so much if you do not understand what I've done here. I'll explain everything once we get to CSS, and also I'll get to explain each and every element in HTML one by one. So today it was just an introduction lesson to show you how HTML works, the basic structure of HTML, and we shall be building on it slowly by slowly. So for today, because of time, I think I'll end there. Then I'll continue from where I left. The next lesson we meet.